Hello everyone, it's Casey here on the Astrology, back again with another video. I want to talk about how Mercury has just moved into Pisces and how Venus is about to move into Pisces. I believe it's tomorrow, and just kind of want to give a little rundown on some of the energy update with Mercury and Venus in Pisces and all the other stuff that's happening that I'll touch on. So Mercury entered Pisces on the 6th, and Venus is going to enter, I believe, tomorrow into Pisces, which is today the 9th or the 10th? I don't know, whatever today is, Venus will be entering Pisces tomorrow. Yeah, I just can't keep up with the days anymore. It's just, I got Pluto on my ass, with all these Aquarius placements that I have. Anyway, so Mercury in Pisces is a highly debilitated planet. It is said not just to be only the detriment, but also the fall of Pisces, or of Mercury. And then Venus, though, entering Pisces, is actually exalted in Pisces. So here we kind of have a little bit of the dignity and the debility of Pisces energies being activated at once, conjuncting each other. And what's interesting about, first, Mercury in Pisces, since it's been there for the last few days, and it will stay there for a while because we're going to have Mercury retrograding in Pisces the whole time. It's going to be in Pisces all the way through, I believe, April 14th. So it's a good 6-7 weeks or so. We're going to have Mercury in Pisces, which is, like I said, it's debilitated. And Mercury in Pisces, what people don't understand about especially debilitated placements is there's actually hidden superpowers within debilitated placements, whereas dignified placements, it kind of just seems more natural or on the surface, where it's just more easily expressed and natural. But Mercury in Pisces is debilitated planets. It's kind of like if you're born with a debility, you're kind of forced to find a creative way around your debility. And if you don't have if you can't hear, your vision becomes better or something like that. I mean, that's kind of an extreme example, but you learn how to access what you have to work with and learn how to master it better, or utilize it much better. And that's kind of what goes on with Mercury in Pisces. So with that said, Mercury in Pisces is really it's really a higher vibration that we just need to know how to access. And we may not know how to access it because the rational and logical mind is not really needed in Pisces, because it's elevating so far advanced, so high up into the higher elevation of frequency, that it is logic and rationality isn't really needed, because the intuition is so strong. I mean, like I was saying in one of my shorts, that the energy with Pisces Mercury is that they can hear things that you're not saying much louder than what you are saying, and they're feeling it so intensely and so strongly, and then their mind isn't really computing or sorting through the energy in a logical manner. So it's kind of difficult. And I've noticed this with Mercury in Pisces. My mom has Mercury in Pisces. It's really hard to communicate with. It's hard to get things across, or points across, or what she's hearing, what she's saying. I mean, with that said, it can still be If you're not attuned to the higher vibrations yourself, having Mercury in Pisces, it can just confuse you, and you cannot really understand what you're really working with mentally. But Mercury in Pisces is a very high vibratory state, but it needs to kind of undergo trial and error, because that's what detriment is. And it's also said to be fall, so it kind of has not a lot of experience in the field it's in. It needs help. So it needs to go through trial and error, and it needs a lot of backing and help for it to become clear. But that's only because the intuition is so strong. It's just abandoned the rational mind because it's picking up on things, so beyond the logical that it's irrelevant, and that's what's really going on, is that the way we're processing information, the entire way that we process information through our thought process is changing, and it's no longer very logical. It's very much more intuitive, and just having this inner sense of knowing and being, with Pisces. It's almost like a mystical sense, a sixth sense of knowing how to process information. And that's what we're going to be learning through this retrograde period and its extended stay through Pisces. And then with Venus entering Pisces, which should be there for about 4 weeks or so, I think. Venus is exalted in Pisces, and Venus is all about, it's a planet of love, right? And I always think of Venus in Pisces as like that song, "Bring Me to a Higher Love." That's kind of what I think about when I think of Venus in Pisces. Venus and Pisces have just such a natural, loving sense to them, a manner, a certain disposition, where they can just know how love flows naturally and higher. And sorry, my son came out here. Hope he's not going to distract me. He often does. But anyway, Venus in Pisces has such a mystical quality to their love and their relationship with things. Venus governs our relationship with not just our relationships, but just our relationship with pretty much anything, and anything that we value, anything that we place value on or love. And it's just an interesting mix of like dignity and debility of our thought process through Mercury, and then the way that we show love, the way we demonstrate love, our senses, our 5 senses, and what brings us pleasure, which is also Venus, and it's also our it's our personal values, and it's what makes life worth living. It's like kind of like our thumbs up button, that's what Venus is. And moving along with this retrograde, it's really trying to teach us the elevated shifts so that we can understand on a personal basis. Because as Saturn enters Aries, and then it conjuncts Neptune, it'll enter Aries on the 13th and conjunct Neptune exactly on the 20th. We're really elevating a huge shift. We're really grounding a whole new beginning, a whole new cycle of, getting third dimensional reality elevated to a 5-dimensional shift here with that Saturn-Neptune aspect in Aries. And then the solar eclipse on the 17th, the new moon partial eclipse in Aquarius, marking the fire horse year in Chinese astrology, that is closing out chapters while it's beginning new intentions that it's seeding forward. And I'm not going to get too much into those right now, because it's going to try to focus more on the Mercury and Venus and Pisces. But the Mercury and Venus and Pisces is what I'm trying to say, is it's really trying to get us involved to that higher states of consciousness, that we're here to learn and understand in order to move towards these shifts that are going on with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and the partial solar eclipse in Aquarius. And it's really important that we understand, Piscean energy, that Pisces doesn't really have, real boundaries, and what's funny is that Pisces is always just like, there's always just this like no conditionality, and this is very much what Saturn and Neptune conundrum is, where it's kind of polar in a sense, where Saturn has conditions and boundaries and Neptune doesn't really have any of those, and it's just just full of depth in a spiritual world, basically, that is forever dissolving and moving higher to states of consciousness. And as we know, Neptune is affiliated with Pisces, but the energy with Pisces is that that they can really contact the missing piece of the puzzle, that they really have this firm belief in the higher divine nature of things, and the surrender, after Scorpio, the stage on a incarnational through the karmic wheel of life that is a zodiac, from stages of incarnation. After Scorpio, there's death, right? And then Sagittarius governs the rebirth. It's like an Aries infancy rebirth. And then Capricorn is like the baby toddler, which is the karma stage after the rebirth. And then Aquarius is the truth stage. And then Pisces is the surrender or bliss stage of heaven. So there's 4 stages of heaven: Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, after the death stage of Scorpio in life. So entering the final piece, the final stage, which is we need at this time, with all these shifts going on, we really need to understand that final stage, that missing piece, that missing link, that Pisces. It's like, there was one analogy that I heard, like everybody's on the bus and everyone's trying to figure out who's steering the bus. Like it's a moving bus, but somehow it's moving, and all 12 signs of the zodiac are on the bus. But they don't know who's driving it, and who's actually driving it is probably Pisces, and Aquarius is the one that's picking up on the truth that, oh, it's Pisces. They got a glimpse into Pisces inside. It's Pisces, blah, blah. And everyone's like, no, it's not Pisces. Pisces is not driving. Pisces is the last one that would do that, But Pisces is the energy that is the final link in all of it. It's the missing stage not the missing stage, but the final stage of the puzzle. And to elevate consciousness for a new beginning, to re-begin again at Aries, which we're also heading into. So this new era, we need to really understand the Pisces energy and what it is, and that is the surrender and the submission of the ego, transcending the ego. We need to transcend our ego. We need to learn how to be humble and let things dissolve that are no longer serving us, and experience something more unconditional. And that is also moving forth how we're going to be able to perceive reality. Is that, I saw a video on a guy on Instagram talking about how boundaries, they work in the exact opposite way ultimately than you expect them to, because humanity doesn't really want rules and regulations and this and that and things like that. Our mission is to learn how to get along and see the bigger, broader picture. Boundaries basically work in the opposite sense, as he was saying, because it's the real mission is to learn how to get along and operate from an unconditional source. And that's what we need to do with this Pisces energy. And that's why it's really important, as Mercury and Venus are personal planets, and with this working with this retrograde where we're abandoning logic to a higher sense, is really what is needed to move forward. And I know that, social media and mainstream media and all sorts of stuff during this period from February to March, there's a very good chance there will be a lot of hysteria. But the point is, we're not here to take the bait. We're here to elevate our consciousness, transcend our ego, submit and surrender to the higher planes. And with Pluto in Aquarius, we're here to make a united stand, not to be divided. So our mission is that even though Pisces Mercury is very hard to understand, Venus Pisces will make it a little easier to understand that concept of a higher power, a higher love. And I just think that it's really important that we utilize these personal planets, and because personal planets we work with our everyday living, moment to moment, and it's really important that we learn and understand Pisces energy for what it is, and it's to be strong, to be their own fish in the sea, not just a fish that swims with the masses, be more of a whale that is independent in the sea. That's the higher. That's the higher version of a Pisces, where they're not just swimming along with the masses. They're not trying to just escape reality and go with the flow and put on the rose-colored glasses. No, the higher compassionate Pisces uses their wisdom and sorts out their emotions in a more practical way, being more balanced with their opposite sign Virgo, which the nodes are there, which we should have a decent sense of by now. And really step into the role of a compassionate healer, a wise mystic, while we have Mercury and Venus in Pisces. And the sun will be there in Pisces right after the eclipse, So just general consciousness and our spirit will be also joining that. So this Pisces season is going to be very, crucial to how we elevate and move forward together on a personal way, but also as a collective way for the rest of humanity. And I don't know, I feel like I've kind of babbled on here and went in many directions, but I'll end it there. But just remember that, we're here to elevate our states of love and our states of consciousness, and to work with this energy and understand, even if it seems confusing or complicated, it's happening because we're vibing in a higher state. And if we're not quite aligned to it, we gotta introspect and redo our work and feel into what our ego, where it needs to be reset and adjusted in order to get us there. So submit the ego to the higher plane right now, and that's what we got to do. And it may not be easy, but like I said, Pisces is the fourth stage and last stage of the incarnational cycle of the zodiac, and it is the surrender to experience the bliss. So in order to see the real exciting times happening in humanity right now, we have to embrace that. Anyway, I'll let this go. Don't just take care, but give care too. And I'll see you next time.